Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. The story begins as a man and woman are on a date. The two prepare to toss themselves into a powerful river, and they tie themselves to each other so they can be together forever. However, in a cruel twist of fate, the evil truck-coon comes out of nowhere to drive through the forest and take them both out. Moments later, our protagonist Daze wakes up and is shocked to see what heaven looks like. A woman explains that this is not heaven, and she is a guide to those that descend upon this world. Her name is Annette, and she reveals that Daze was chosen and transported to this new world. A fearsome dragon flies by as Annette explains that this world is shrouded in darkness, and Daze was chosen to be a hero who brings light to this world. Daze doesn't think of himself as a hero at all though. He was just some guy trying to commit double unalive with his girlfriend, and has now been brought to a strange world. Annette prepares to give him an inspiring speech to make him want to become a hero, but she is shocked when Daze does his thing and overdoses on some sedation pills. Annette purifies the toxins from his body, but Daze says that she's actually bothering him. Annette demands for Daze to become a hero to fulfill his great mission of saving this world, but Daze is just looking for a place to stop living. Daze keeps chowing down on his pills, but Annette reminds him that he is the chosen one. Daze points out that he never decided to be chosen, but Annette explains that Truck-kun is actually an otherworld selection truck. Among the many people in Daze's old world living unhappy lives, only those struck by otherworld Truck-kun get to redo their lives in this world. This is actually a world transfer service that her world provides. Being hit by Truck-kun means that he was unhappy with his life, so he was granted a chance in this world. Daze finishes up taking some more pills, and he angrily points out that the stupid truck interfered with the happiest moment of his life, his double unalive. He points out that they don't have the right to decide who's unhappy, but from her point of view, he was saved from a life so unhappy that he was going to end it all. Ultimately, Annette decides that his complaining doesn't matter because Daze will surely change his mind when he sees his stats. Without exception, every human brought to her world is granted the ability to wield superhuman powers. However, she is shocked to find that Daze is insanely weak. Not only does he only have one hit point, he is also poisoned even after she detoxified him. Annette refuses to believe that someone could be this weak, so she desperately searches to see if Daze has some kind of special skill or exceptional ability. She is horrified to find that he has absolutely nothing, and she has never seen such a weak otherworlder. The very sick-looking Daze goes to leave, but Annette stops him and finally agrees that he must have been brought to this world by mistake. She determines that he won't be able to survive in this world, and she is shocked when Daze finally shows some confidence, and he declares that what she just said sounds a lot more like what his life is really about. Daze explains that he is branded a failure no matter what world he lives in. Annette apologizes once again for the mistake and asks him to stay with her for a while. This world is incredibly dangerous and filled with monsters, so his life will surely end the second he steps outside. She is stunned though when Daze tells her not to worry because he's looking for his final resting place anyway. The reason why Annette is so shocked is because Daze is very different than all the others. Annette used to take pride in guiding otherworlders, and meeting them excited her. However, she started to realize how pretentious and arrogant they were. Soon she felt like her job was simply to flatter heroes over and over again, so she closed off her heart. However, her life has been turned upside down as Daze is totally different. Daze prepares to enter the dangerous new world, but Annette begs him to at least pick a profession first. Daze declares that he doesn't need to pick a profession because he's a born writer, and he says goodbye to the girl that he says has beautiful ears. As he leaves, Annette dramatically declares that she finally understands. The thing she has been waiting for was for this man to enter her life. Outside, Daze realizes that he can't read the writing in this world, but he can tell that there won't be any cafes for him to go to. Just then, a voice pops into his head and announces that Daze has earned 5 experience points for discovering a new area. Daze wishes the voice would stop as he suffers from migraines, but an even louder voice announces that Daze has risen to level 2. Just then, a tree collapses and a girl screams as she is attacked by a monster. She begs Daze to help her because he's an adventurer, but Daze just stares at her and thinks about how a lot of people have weirdly shaped ears in this world. She keeps begging for his help, but Daze just asks for her permission to write a novel about her. Daze eventually realizes that she wants him to save her, so he tells her to give him a moment. Daze makes a half-hearted attempt to reach out to her, but ultimately declares that he can't reach her. She asks him to use a sword or a spell or something, but the monster just ends up taking a hold of Daze as well. Daze simply says that he can't breathe, and the girl explains that the tree is stealing their life force. They only have a few more minutes before their lives end, but she is shocked when Daze says that that's good news. Daze finds delight in his final moments and says goodbye to the world. The girl begs him not to give up, but Daze is completely unresponsive. She is stunned that her life will end in such a strange way, but she is even more surprised when the tree is covered in darkness and it explodes. Daze is shockingly still alive, much to his disappointment, and the voice announces that Daze inflicted 300 damage with his poison. The girl is absolutely stunned as this great adventurer before her eliminated the monster by making it absorb his poison instead of his life force. Daze rises to level 3, and the girl wonders if he poisons himself. She then wonders why he pretends to be weak when he is pretty strong, but he explains that this just always happens to him. He wants to stop existing, but somehow he ends up surviving. He has tried to stop living 5 times, but it has never gone right once. The girl has no clue why he's so depressed, but she is grateful that he saved her life, so she thanks him. She offers to take him to her place to rest, and he introduces himself. When Daze touches her hand though, he is reminded of his girlfriend Sachan, and he wonders if she came to this world too. The girl then angrily tells him that her name isn't Sachan. She tries to tell him her real name, but Daze's already in the clouds thinking about Sachan. The girl gets frustrated as he ignores her, but he has a good reason. Daze has just found a reason to live in this new world. He goes over his last memory with his girlfriend and declares that he will find Sachan wherever she is in this world. His declaration isn't exactly what it seems, as he wants to find her so they can commit double unalive again. Back with Annette, she prays to the god of her world so that Daze can be protected. She also wishes to meet him again one day, and she gets her wish as Daze returns. She couldn't be happier to see him, but she is stunned when his new cat girlfriend is there too. Annette can't believe that he already has a girl companion, but she composes herself as Daze has a question. He wants to know if Annette has met a girl named Sachan, and Annette is horrified to hear that a third woman is involved. Daze leaves as Annette had no information about Sachan, but the cat girl assures him that he will find her. She wants to stop by the castle town of Roth before going to her house, but she is shocked when Annette appears to stop her from holding hands with Daze. Annette thinks it's shameless behavior, but the cat just wants to know why Annette came with them. Annette is too shy to answer, so the cat realizes that she must be in love with Daze. Of course, Annette denies it and simply declares that it's her job to protect the weak otherworlder. Him being an otherworlder makes the cat realize that is why Daze is so strong, but Annette points out that he's actually really weak. The two argue about how weak he is, but the cat reveals that Daze defeated a monster and saved her life. Annette is horrified because saving her life means that they have gotten close, and she angrily calls the girl a thieving cat. Just then, Daze announces that he found something wonderful. He calls it a very comfortable bed, but it's actually a coffin, and he tells the girls to wake him up when they arrive at the town. Daze says goodnight to Annette and Tama, but the cat angrily points out that isn't her name. Daze's already fast asleep though, and Annette sheepishly points out that Daze called her the right name. Annette then takes on the task of dragging Daze in his coffin, but Tama wonders if that's really her job as a clergy person. Eventually, Tama gets tired of dragging Daze in his coffin. She demands that he get out and walk, but there's no response from him. The girls begin to wonder if he's even alive, but his stat screen reveals that he's just resting. Annette is ready to continue, but the cat must remind her that her name isn't Tama. Inside his coffin, Daze remembers his girlfriend again, and promises to find her so they can double unalive. A while later, the girls wake Daze up as they have arrived at the castle town of Roth. Daze is amazed by this new world, and his group goes to meet with King Thomas and Princess Charlotte. Thomas allows them to stay the night in his castle after their long journey, so the girls think he's a very generous king. Thomas, however, only has one condition. He loves hearing stories from travelers, so he would like for Daze to share one pleasant memory from his travels. Daze offers to tell him what it feels like to sleep in a coffin, but this just sounds like a threat to the king. The king changes his mind and instead wants their advice on something. Thomas brings in a valiant warrior named Gomez and a minstrel named Otto. He explains that due to the influence of the Dark Lord, monster activity has increased recently. The king is growing too old to deal with this, so he has decided that one of these two guys will become Princess Charlotte's husband and the next king. Charlotte is having a hard time choosing, so the king asks the travelers for advice. The king is shocked though when Daze has no clue what to say. This is a life-changing decision for Charlotte, so Daze doesn't think they should be asking for advice from travelers that just arrived. Daze boldly declares that Thomas is a horrible tyrant and he is unfit to be a king. The king is stunned as Daze leaves, and Daze thinks about how he actually had no right to say that stuff since he himself is unfit to live in this world. The girls apologize to the king profusely, and they explain that Daze is an otherworlder. The king understands, and Charlotte stares at Daze. That night, Annette notices that Daze isn't sleeping, but he explains that he never sleeps well. Annette finally musters up the courage to ask about his girlfriend Sachan, but she becomes furious when she finds Tama sleeping in his bed. Tama explains that she was just cold, and they start arguing, so Daze just leaves. Outside, Daze finds the princess, and they admire the beautiful lake. Daze admires it for a different reason though, as he wants to throw himself into it. Charlotte can't believe that his life is so troubled that he wants to end it, but Daze can tell that her life seems to be more troubled than his. Charlotte can't deny it because she's having a really difficult time choosing a husband. Gomez just arrived at the castle recently, but he has already become the most dependable soldier they have. Her father has a lot of faith in his strength, so Charlotte thinks she should choose him because of that. Otto, on the other hand, is her childhood friend. Whenever she felt down, Otto wrote songs and sang them to her. Charlotte wonders what she should do, so Daze points out that she is truly a kind person unlike him. Daze's life has been a continuous series of troubles, and he has attempted to unalive himself numerous times. Charlotte obviously cares about her father a lot, but Daze has done nothing but inconvenience his family greatly. Even through all that though, Daze has never once asked anyone else to choose how he should live his life for him. Charlotte is shocked by his statement, and he goes on to say that she should decide for herself what she will do. As he leaves, Daze tells her to ask herself what it is that she truly wants. The next day, King Thomas reveals that the princess has chosen who she wants to be her husband, and he wants the travelers to act as witnesses. Annette thinks that she will choose Gomez for the betterment of the kingdom, but Tama thinks that Charlotte and Otto are a better match. The king instructs his daughter to stand before the man she chooses, so Charlotte steps forward. Charlotte has given a lot of thought to her decision, and she shocks everyone when she decides to go completely off path, and she announces that she will commit double unalive with Daze. Everyone's jaws drop, and Annette even passes out from shock. Charlotte explains that she did a lot of thinking after she spoke with Daze. She realized that while Otto did sing for her every time she was sad, he also would come when she didn't feel sad. He was even making a ruckus last night. Charlotte has concluded that Otto simply wants to perform his newest songs to someone. Her reason for not wanting to marry Gomez is a lot simpler though, and it's because he smells. King Thomas calls her a fool and begs her to choose one of the other guys, but Charlotte finally stands up for herself and tells the king that he is the fool for trying to make her marry someone she doesn't want to. It turns out that she never wanted to get married in the first place, but nobody took her feelings into consideration. The only one who actually cared about her opinion was Daze, and Daze now understands why she wants to commit double unalive with him. Just then, Gomez gets really angry about being told that he smells, so he makes fun of Charlotte's nose and terrifies everyone when he begins to transform. After transforming, Gomez reveals that he's a servant of the Dark Lord, and he intended to acquire the kingdom by becoming its king so he could offer it to the Dark Lord. He never thought that the princess would be able to see through his disguise, but the princess actually didn't figure it out. Gomez just really smells bad. Gomez has heard enough and decides to just end everyone's lives. Tama desperately tries to wake Annette up to help fight the demon, but it's no use, so the king's guards go to attack. Gomez easily knocks them back though, and Tama must rescue Annette from being crushed. Tama launches a counterattack and decides that if Gomez wants to play so badly, then she will play with him. Tama is only a level 14 martial artist, so Otto declares that he will assist her by singing for her. Tama's then shocked to see that he's a level 89 minstrel. Otto's music gives her a buff, but Tama's disappointed to see that it doesn't do anything. Tama looks to Daze for help, but he's entranced by Otto's newest song. This leaves Tama to go one-on-one with the beast, and she manages to land a cat punch and a cat kick. Gomez easily pushes her back though, and mocks her by acting like he didn't feel a single thing. Gomez announces that he will put all his power into his next attack, and his iron horns will tear Tama to pieces. Tama's terrified of his sharp horns, but Daze interrupts and politely asks if the demon could end his and Charlotte's lives first. Gomez is in disbelief, so Daze explains that they both want to be eliminated, and it would be an honor if Gomez did it with his magnificent horns. Charlotte has been freed from the grasp of her father, so he wants the giant cow to grant them this wish. Everyone begs Daze to rethink his decision, but the thing Daze calls a giant cow is already on board. Gomez says that he will eliminate them first, then the king, and after that he will burn the city to the ground, ending the lives of every citizen in the kingdom. Daze couldn't care less since they won't be alive for all that, but Charlotte seems upset. Daze assures her that everything will be fine though, because their wish will be granted. Everyone begs for the monster to stop, but it's too late as Gomez has already started charging at them. Just then, Charlotte comes to the realization that she doesn't want her life to end just yet. She declares that she wants to continue living so she can protect the people of the kingdom. It turns out that Daze knew she would come to her senses, and he points out that she really is a kind princess. Daze had a plan all along as he pushes Charlotte to safety, and he declares that as his partner for Double Unalive, she simply will not do. Charlotte calls out to him as he's about to get obliterated, but Annette comes out of nowhere and protects Daze with the barrier. She's a level 18 priestess, and she refuses to let Daze lose his life while she is around. The demon's horns are shattered by Annette's barrier, so Tama follows that up with her Wildcat Strike attack. This attack is pretty powerful, and it sends Gomez flying out of the castle. Tama begrudgingly thanks Annette for saving her, but Annette points out that Tama saved her as well. Otto declares that he will turn their beautiful friendship into a song, but everyone has had enough of this guy already. Just then, the king apologizes profusely to Charlotte. He realizes now that he should have considered her feelings, and he doesn't think he's fit to be king or fit to be her father. He begs for forgiveness, so Charlotte accepts and they agree to be more open with each other in the future. The two have a very nice moment, but Daze can't help but think about how he failed to unalive again. A while later, a guard urgently warns that monsters have arrived at the southern gate. We see that Charlotte is in charge now, so she sends the royal guard to exterminate the threat. Back with our group, the girls hope that Charlotte will be able to handle the pressure of ruling as the queen. Daze speaks from his comfortable coffin and explains that Charlotte made the decision herself, so she will be fine. Daze declares that women that are losing their life are very beautiful, but women who stand up on their own 2 feet are beautiful as well. The girls are tired of his nonsense though, and they just wish he would walk on his own already. Eventually, the girls get tired and decide to take a break so they can eat something. Our lazy protagonist emerges from his coffin, eager to eat something, but they only have bread. Daze would much rather eat some boiled tofu, so Annette decides that they should look for some in a nearby town. The group is only a few days away from reaching Tama's hometown, but Annette would like them to make a stop at a temple. Normally, an Otherworlder arrives at one of the 4 temples in this world, and they head directly for the Dark Lord's castle. However, Daze's goal isn't to defeat the Dark Lord, because he just wants to find Sachan. This means that they have to visit the 4 temples to gather information on where Sachan is. Tama is shocked because this means that if they have a hard time finding her, then they will have to travel all around the world. Annette doesn't even want Daze to fight the Dark Lord because it's too dangerous, and Tama once again teases her for being in love with him. Annette denies it and explains that Daze just gave her hope when she had given up on her job. Tama points out that Sachan might be Daze's soulmate, so Annette admits to traveling with him to find this out. Tama agrees to go with them until they reach her hometown, but Annette's half-hearted thank you makes Tama realize that Annette would rather be alone with Daze. Annette ditched her job, so Tama wonders if she will even be allowed into the temple. Annette isn't worried though because the head priestess of this next temple is a dear friend of hers. Besides that, Annette didn't just leave her post without notice. She sent her letter of resignation using her familiar. This familiar makes its first appearance, but it does so by snacking on Daze's head. Annette scolds the little monster, but she gets even more upset when she finds out that it didn't deliver her letter of resignation. Daze points out that the little beast is pretty loyal for returning to its master, and he names it Melos. Melos seems to have taken a liking to him, but Daze just wants to get more rest. Just then, Daze must tell Melos to quiet down as he begins to panic, and a terrifying dragon appears. Dragons are this world's most powerful monster, and it terrifies the girls with a scream. Just then, a girl calls it Ryuka and tells it to stop. Annette and Tama are confused as the girl approaches the dragon, so they tell her to be careful. They are shocked though when this girl speaks a different language to the dragon and tames it. The girl assumes that Annette and Tama's group has already suffered casualties because of the coffin, and she recommends that they leave this area that is incredibly dangerous. Daze emerges from his coffin as he assumes that it's time to eat, and the girls ask the stranger to forgive his rude behavior because he's an otherworlder. Hearing this infuriates the girl though, and she vows to eliminate all otherworlders. She unleashes a power that terrifies the girls, and her attack must be blocked by Annette's barrier. Annette does her best to hold back the attack, but her shield is eventually broken. Our group is badly injured as the girls' attack did massive damage to the area, and Annette concedes that the girls' magic is insanely powerful. The girls vow to protect Daze at all costs, but the stranger brings them to their knees with her power. The stranger's symbol terrifies Annette even more because it's the symbol of the wrathful Dark Lord. Just then, the girls are shocked when Daze stands, as he has had enough of all the dangerous behavior. He points out that the girls have nothing to do with this. Daze reminds the girl that she's after otherworlders, and he is her only opponent. He tells her to do as she pleases, and reveals that he's prepared for his life to end at any time. His friends beg him to stop, but it's too late as the stranger grants his wish, and she sends her arm right through his chest. The girls are terrified as Daze collapses to the ground, and the stranger reveals that her name is Waldelia. Annette and Tama faint, but Waldelia is shocked when Daze reveals that he's still alive. He can tell that Waldelia has a lot of hatred inside of her, and Daze says that he can relate. Daze has lost his mind to intense hatred before as well. Waldelia is terrified to see him still alive as he approaches her, and Daze says that her eyes look very sad. Daze would like to know why, but Waldelia's terror causes her to flee with her dragon. She is still uneasy about what just happened, and she wonders just who Daze is. A while later, we see that Melos has brought our trio to the temple they were going to. The priestess rushes to Annette, but Annette tells her that Daze needs immediate medical attention. He's in really bad shape, so the priestess summons every priest to bring every healing potion they have. A while later, we see that Daze is fine as he shops for some poison. The vendor explains that the poison is most effective when thrown at a monster, but he is shocked when Daze just drinks it. Tama is furious because he just made a miraculous recovery, but the priestesses are glad to see that he's doing well. The priestess named Nisha explains that she hasn't met anyone named Sachan, but she is more concerned about why Annette is traveling with an otherworlder. She's glad that Annette quit her job because she's too pure for it, but she's upset to see that she's traveling with an otherworlder. Yisha hates otherworlders because they use their gifts they were given by the gods for selfish reasons. Just then, some strange rapping otherworlder named Kataro tells the girls to stop arguing and have some fun with him. They ignore him, but Kataro demonstrates his overpowered skill of mass production. It allows him to produce an unlimited amount of the world's currency, so he offers to buy the girls whatever they want. Yisha gets rid of the guy, but he promises to make them pay, and Yisha points out that all otherworlders are like that guy. Annette explains that Daze is different, but Yisha can tell just by looking at him that he's just as destructive as the others. Annette still argues for him and points out that he changed her entire life. Just then, Daze asks for money to buy some drugs. Annette casually gives it to him, but still tries to tell Yisha that he isn't destructive at all. Yisha is then shocked to learn that Daze doesn't have a gift. Despite that, Daze still fought against the wrathful Dark Lord for his friends. Yisha is stunned to hear this though, because the wrathful Dark Lord was actually destroyed by another otherworlder 7 days ago. Tama is just as shocked to hear this news, and the two girls celebrate because it means that peace has finally come to their world. This, however, makes them question who that girl with the dragon was. It's also strange that Daze arrived 7 days ago, but Annette can only think about how that was the day Daze completely changed her life. The biggest question is, if this world no longer has a Dark Lord, then why was Daze brought here in the first place? Just then, the girls are startled as Daze tears up a bunch of papers. Daze dramatically explains that he was trying to write about the events that have happened after being brought to this world. He was struggling to write though, so he is now despairing over it. Annette eagerly waits to hear what he wrote about them meeting for the first time, but her heart is shattered when Daze reveals that he didn't write about her at all. Daze isn't sure why, but his meeting with Walderia gave him a surge of creativity, and he hopes that something else that excites him will occur. Annette thinks he might find something if they explore the town, and recent events have made her want to buy Daze some stuff anyway. In town, we find that what she wanted to buy Daze is some heavy-duty armor. There is no telling when they will be attacked again, and Annette never wants to see Daze suffering ever again. Tama points out that Daze looks like he's suffering right now, but Daze actually kind of likes the oppressive feeling that the armor gives him. The girls go to do more shopping, and Annette tells Daze to stay there. Yisha finds him, and Daze explains that he was just searching for new excitement. Yisha declares that Annette will be staying with her from now on because she has always been a pure girl, and it makes her trust people too easily. Yisha is sure that Annette will be unhappy traveling with him, so she begs Daze to break up his party. Daze just smirks though, and points out that it's up to Annette to decide what she wants to do. He declares that Yisha has no say in the matter, and he wonders why she thinks Annette will be unhappy anyway. Yisha explains that it's because Daze is an otherworlder, and she doesn't trust otherworlders. Just then, Yisha is stunned, and a crowd forms as some guy arrives. This man is said to have been created by the heavens to stand above everyone in the world. He is an otherworlder, and his name is Lord Suzuki. Suzuki announces to everyone that the Dark Lord was defeated 7 days ago, and he tells them to rejoice as peace has come to their world. The crowd erupts with cheer, and they all praise the otherworlders, but Suzuki reveals his real intentions. He points out that they risked their lives to bring them peace, so it's only right that the otherworlders be allowed to rule the world. Because of this, he declares that this time will be known as the Great Hero Age. Suzuki has decided to be the ruler of this town, and his buddy Kotaro tells the townspeople to bow down to Suzuki. Just then, Kotaro points to the girls and tells Suzuki that they were the ones that messed with him. Suzuki is furious and declares that they committed acts of violence to an otherworlder. Annette tries to explain that he is mistaken, but Suzuki refuses to listen to someone who would bring harm to a hero. Nearby, we see that the town is on fire, and Daze states that he finally felt like he could write his masterpiece. Moments earlier, Suzuki pats Annette on the head and tells her to be a good girl. He uses some kind of skill on her, and she collapses to the ground. Kotaro celebrates and explains that the more pure Suzuki's victims are, the sooner they fall to his skill. Tama demands to know what he did, so Kotaro explains that Suzuki's skill turns anyone he pets into his slave. Tama demands that they release Annette, but Suzuki just uses his skill on her too. Suzuki brags about how powerful he is, but Yisha arrives to remind him that she didn't teach him to use his gift that way. She declares that the town will never fall under his control, and all the townspeople agree with her. Suzuki decides that he will just have to destroy the town, so he sends his wolves to attack everyone. He demands for Yisha to call him a hero, and tells her to be happy because he plans to use her church as his castle. The town is now on fire as chaos breaks out. Tama is under Suzuki's control, so she attacks Daze like a wild animal. Daze realizes that Annette was right about wearing armor all along, since you never know who might attack. Tama manages to destroy his armor, but the helmet ends up knocking her out by accident. To keep her safe, Daze decides to put her in a barrel with the sign saying that a wild cat is inside. Yisha collapses near him, and she points out what otherworlders are really like. Suzuki used his gift for selfish reasons, and now his greed has become completely unstoppable, and he has lost control. Suzuki wasn't like that at all when he first came to this world, because he was quiet and weak. Daze surprisingly takes notes, because Suzuki has piqued his interest, and he tells Yisha to watch over Tama while he confronts Suzuki. Yisha reminds Daze that he won't be able to do anything, because he doesn't have a gift, but Daze has a feeling that he will finally be able to write his masterpiece. Daze allows her to come with him, but she is surprised to see how calm he is. Yisha explains that Suzuki is really strong, and Daze doesn't stand a chance against the gifted otherworlder. She is sure that Daze will be torn to pieces as soon as he opens the door to the church. Just then, Daze takes out his poison, and Yisha is relieved to see that he must have a plan. She assumes that he's going to poison Suzuki's guard dogs, but she is shocked when he drinks it instead. He's all out of poison, so Yisha takes charge and tells him to follow her so they can sneak in. Daze just ignores her though and opens the door. He gets right to the point and tells Suzuki that he would like to base a novel on him. Suzuki assumes that Daze wants to write the heroic tale of Suzuki, the hero conquering another world, but Daze has a different idea. The novel will be about a man that gains more power than he deserves and falls into his own greed. Suzuki is insulted, so he sends his wolves after Daze, but our protagonist just stands there writing. Yisha handles most of the wolves, but one grabs her and Suzuki prepares to end their lives. Yisha warns that the attack is aimed right at Daze, but he just keeps writing. The attack is unleashed, but everyone is shocked when it is blocked by Daze's helmet from his armor. It turns out to be Melos in the helmet, so Daze thanks him. Kotaro is terrified because they're out of fireball potions, but Suzuki reminds him that he still has his number one pet. Suzuki warns that his pet takes the life of anyone it bites, and he laughs like a lunatic when Daze gets bitten. The beast collapses though, and Daze says that dogs should be chained up at all times. A voice comes from Daze's system, and it announces that he inflicted 600 damage to the beast with his poison. Kotaro is stunned as the wolf completely turns to ash, and Isha assumes that Daze infused himself with poison. Suzuki calls Kotaro a coward as he runs away, but Suzuki isn't ready to give up. Instead, he calls on his trump card, and Isha is horrified to see that it's Annette. He instructs Annette to eliminate them, so Isha defends herself and declares that they should retreat. Daze disagrees and explains that Annette isn't as weak as Isha seems to think. Daze approaches her, but Suzuki explains that his skill can't be removed by anyone, and Annette will be his slave for the rest of her life. Daze doesn't listen to the nerd, as he explains that Annette will be the one to decide what she does with her life, and Suzuki has no say in the matter. Daze places himself right in front of her blade, and reminds her that she is not some bird in a cage. Annette seems to be fighting Suzuki's spell, so he screams for her to hurry and eliminate Daze. Annette prepares to do so, but we then see what's going on inside of her mind. She's trapped inside of a cage, but Daze appears to shine some light on her. Annette finds a moment of clarity, so she stabs herself and breaks the spell. Daze catches her, and the two greet each other. Daze has Isha treat Annette's wounds, and she thinks about how he said that Annette isn't weak. Suzuki is utterly shocked by someone breaking his spell, and he can't handle it. He attempts to unalive himself, but Daze surprisingly stops him. Daze reminds Suzuki that he's writing a novel about him, so he can't end the story early. Daze instructs Suzuki to tell him his story, so we get a look at Suzuki's past. Suzuki explains that he was always timid, and stronger guys always made him their pet. He thought about unaliving himself several times, but he could never go through with it. One night, Suzuki bumped into some drunk guy, but he didn't have the courage to stick up for himself when the drunk guy insulted him. Suzuki was distracted, so he fell victim to the merciless truck-kun. He was brought to the new world, and he was greeted by Isha. She explained that he was now a hero, and he had to use the gift he was granted to defeat the Dark Lord. Suzuki's adventure began, and he learned to use his gift by controlling wolves. He used the wolves to defeat a monster, and he realized how powerful he was. In town, Suzuki would receive strange looks because he was different from everyone. He was bumped and insulted just like before, but this time he used his gift to get revenge. Suzuki explains that he was someone that suffered countless failures in his old world. However, he was suddenly granted power and made a hero. To Suzuki, it's unrealistic to think that someone that has gone through all this would try to save some new world. Suzuki decided to become evil, but he has failed, and he realizes that he will always be a weak nobody. Suzuki is shocked to hear how pleased Daze is, and Daze declares that his novel based on Suzuki is finally complete. It's the story of a miserable man who, despite hoping to live as a hero in this world, could become neither a hero nor a villain due to his own weakness. Daze has decided to call it No Longer Allowed in Another World. Just then, Daze's book bursts with energy, and the pages surround Suzuki. Daze thanks Suzuki because he helped him finally write something he was satisfied with again. Unfortunately, Daze decides that this book cannot be called a masterpiece. He tears one of the pages, and the ground begins to shake. The girls are stunned because they notice that a magic circle for summoning otherworlders has appeared. They have no clue what's going on, but they see that the power of teleportation is flowing back into the circle. Power erupts from the church, and the girls are stunned when they realize that Suzuki must have been sent back to his own world. Annette is sure that Daze didn't have a gift before, but looking at his system shows that he has a writing skill called Storyteller. Isha is shocked as she realizes that this is probably a special skill that only activates against certain targets, and in this case it's otherworlders. This is pretty horrifying, as it means that Daze must have been brought to this world to fight otherworlders. Daze falls to the ground as he once again failed to write his masterpiece, and he starts taking pills again. Daze wonders if he will ever find anyone else that intrigues him, and Isha wonders who this guy is. Daze wonders where Suzuki went, so he has to be told that he sent Suzuki back to his world. Back in town, the wolves leave, and Tama emerges from her barrel. Later, Isha gives Daze a new coffin, and she speaks with Annette. She predicts that Daze has an important role to fulfill in the future of their world, and their journey will be dangerous. Annette assumes that Yisha's going to try to convince her not to go with him, but she is shocked when Yisha expresses confidence that Annette will do a great job supporting Daze. Before they leave, Yisha asks Daze if Suzuki became evil because he was granted power he didn't deserve. Daze doesn't know, so she wonders if Suzuki will have to continue living a miserable life in his old world. Daze explains that Suzuki's story will continue and it will be up to him whether it becomes a masterpiece or not. Yisha is glad to hear that, and our group leaves. We then see Suzuki in his old world. He has just finished up interviewing for a job, and he is told that he can start tomorrow. Suzuki heads outside, and we get a look at a piece of one of the pages from Dase's book that says to be continued. Elsewhere, Yisha goes to another cathedral to meet with the other archbishops. The one named Wolf has started drinking again because his jurisdiction is filled with dwarves. He calls Yisha lucky because her jurisdiction has demi-humans and she doesn't have to deal with dwarves all day. A third member arrives and scolds Wolf for being a speciesist. Wolf commends this guy for not only being the first non-elf to be appointed priest, but also for achieving the rank of archbishop. This big red guy is a goblin, and he points out that a person's species doesn't really matter. There are even some elves that behave in a way that is disgraceful. Wolf is insulted, but Cardinal Miller arrives to stop their argument. Miller's the one that summoned the priests, and he prepares to hear the reports. Just then, another priestess arrives in embarrassing fashion, and she apologizes for being late. The new girl's name is Arya, and she is Annette's replacement. She says that she has nothing to report, but she must apologize when Miller points out that some girl recently inherited the throne in her jurisdiction. The big red guy's name is Elton, and his report reveals that things are peaceful as always in his jurisdiction. Wolf oversees the land of desert and earth, and he has nothing of importance to report. There are frequent conflicts between dwarves, but it's nothing out of the ordinary, and they even attack Wolf sometimes. Yisha introduces herself to the newbie, and reveals in her report that an Otherworlder went on a rampage and destroyed half of a town. Miller explains that the Otherworlders are exactly why he called this meeting. The wrathful Dark Lord has already been defeated by a group of Otherworlders, so it has been decided by the Pope that the magic circles connecting their worlds will be sealed. This means that they will stop summoning Otherworlders. Elton is glad that their battle against the Dark Lord has ended, and Wolf is relieved to finally be free from looking after the Otherworlders. However, Miller gets very serious and reveals that there is a new problem at hand. The 7 Otherworlders that defeated the Dark Lord have claimed the Dark Lord's lands and become its new rulers. The others are shocked, but it gets worse as the Otherworlders sent a declaration to the Pope. Their intentions are to transform all the lands into a utopia. The Pope is greatly distressed because he believed that the Otherworlders were angels sent to save this world, and he loved them because of this. However, these people that he considered his own children have now bared their fangs against him and declared war against the world. The 7 angels that saved the world have become 7 fallen angels who are now threatening the world. That isn't all though, as there are other fallen Otherworlders who have begun causing chaos in each region. As if all that weren't bad enough, the daughter of the Dark Lord named Waldelia is still a threat. It's the mission of the archbishops to protect the peace of this world, but they can't believe that the Otherworlders have become their enemies. If the Otherworlders work together, then they will surely become more of a threat than the Dark Lord was. Arya wonders how they will fight such a threat, and Yisha thinks back to Dase's power. Yisha declares that there might be a way to defeat the Otherworlders, and she tells the other bishops about Daze. She explains that he used his gift to send an Otherworlder back to his own world. The others are stunned to hear that such a power exists, and the Pope arrives to question if this is really possible. Everyone bows down to him, and the Pope declares that Daze might be the ray of hope among all the darkness. The Pope is intrigued by him and instructs Yisha to tell him more about Daze. Elsewhere, a man asks a woman if she is thinking about her beloved. This girl doesn't speak though, and only hums a song. The guy explains that their allies have departed to various lands. As for the 2 of them, they will remain where they are and observe what's in store for this world. Elsewhere, our trio decides to stop at a town before reaching their destination. A voice announces that Tama has reached level 17, but she isn't happy about leveling up just from dragging a coffin around. Some random kid shows them where the inn is, and he offers to give them some information that will help them on their adventures. This kid explains to them something called a hero introduction service. It's a service that assigns otherworlders to accompany parties that lack confidence in their skills, providing them with a safe and comfortable journey. Tama thinks about the evil otherworlders she has met, but the kid reminds her that otherworlders are heroes meant to save the world. The hero introduction service is a business idea this kid came up with, so he offers to introduce the girls to an otherworlder for only $40,000. Tama declines such a silly offer, but Annette eagerly orders one valiant warrior. Tama scolds her, but Annette says that it's a small price to pay for Dazai's safety. The kid thinks that there's a deceased person in the coffin and assumes that he wants safety from beyond the grave. Of course, he is shocked when Dazai reveals that he's actually still alive. The girls explain that Dazai is a hero as well, but the kid doesn't think he looks like one at all. He introduces himself as Nier as he takes Annette's money and he goes to get them their adventurer. Tama's relieved to be getting a warrior on their team to pull Dazai's coffin, but Annette refuses to give that job to anyone else. That night, our trio waits for Nier at the inn, but Dazai is sure that he won't be returning. The innkeeper knows all about Nier, and Annette confirms that they gave him money. She reveals that Nier actually scams people a lot, and it turns out that he has never even met an adventurer. There is no way he could introduce anyone to an adventurer, and they were just fooled by Big Mouth Nier. Annette becomes furious, and Tama does her best to get her to take deep breaths. Nier is an orphan, and he makes a living by fooling visitors who come to town. He doesn't have any adults in his life to scold him, so he has become the town nuisance. The innkeeper is sure that the heroes Nier talks about don't exist, because if they did, then they would have saved Nier by now. Elsewhere, we find Nier under a bridge, and he stares at a sword. The sad moment is interrupted when he is captured by a mysterious group. This group takes all the money that Nier saved up, and they tell him that they plan to end his life. Nier becomes furious and declares that his otherworlder friends will come to rescue him. These horrible guys mock the kid and reveal that they're actually otherworlders themselves. The guys wonder if this is Nier's first time seeing overpowered abilities, and Nier is horrified as his entire world is crashing down. The boss shows off his ultimate weapon and declares that it can even pierce the skin of a dragon. The guys have heard that Nier has been using the names of otherworlders to make money, so they call him an evil little kid that needs to be punished. They tell him to cheer up because he can brag in the afterlife about being eliminated by heroes, and they begin a 5-second countdown. Nier has lost all hope because he always thought the otherworlders were heroes. He prepares for his life to be over as the countdown ends and he is shot at, but Dazai comes out of nowhere to rescue him. Dazai says that they have no right to call themselves heroes and blames liars like them for why children misbehave. One of the thieves analyzes Dazai and he panics as he realizes that he is also an otherworlder. The thief says that Dazai is nothing to worry about though when he sees that Dazai not only has just one hit point, but he's also poisoned. The boss is determined to get revenge for scaring them, and he tells Dazai that his life will now end. Unfortunately for him, this actually intrigues Dazai. The thieves start panicking again as Dazai's vitality starts to rise rapidly, and he tells them to aim for his heart when they shoot him. The thieves are horrified to see how calm Dazai is, so they run for their lives. Nier wonders if Dazai's a hero, but Dazai says that he's no one special. He says that adults are kids who have been betrayed, but Nier is just a child, and he's not ready to become an adult. Nier's eyes still admire heroes, so for now that is how it should be. Dazai makes his exit, but the kid is shocked to see that he's just leaving him behind all tied up. The next morning, our trio prepares to head straight for the town of Grun. The girls can tell that Dazai didn't get enough sleep, so they wonder where he went the night before. Dazai doesn't say, so Annette suspects that he went to see another woman. Dazai doesn't tell her and just begins to rest. Just then, Nier shows up, and Tama demands they to give him back their money. Nier says that he didn't lie to them, and he will be the valiant warrior to join their party. As the journey continues, Dazai receives some experience points for exploring a new area. The annoying announcement voice makes Dazai want to end his own life, and Nier is shocked to hear him speak this way. Nier warns the girls about Dazai's depression, but Tama reminds the kid that he's supposed to be a valiant warrior, and she makes him drag the coffin. They eventually arrive at Tama's hometown of Grun, and there is a security checkpoint. Tama tells the others not to worry though, because she's a bit of a celebrity there, and will easily be able to get them through. Tama goes to speak to the guards, but our group is quickly surrounded. They are being arrested, but Daze just seems to get intrigued. Our group is thrown into a cell, and Annette becomes depressed when the gods don't answer her pleas for help. Tama was separated from the group, and Annette sobs uncontrollably. The guards arrested Tama and everyone she was with the moment they saw her, so Nier assumes that she must have committed a terrible crime. Daze wonders how people are executed in this world, but Annette refuses to tell him because he's clearly looking forward to it. Nier figures they should try to escape, and Annette wonders how he plans to do so. The kid picks the lock, but Annette doesn't think the behavior is fitting for a supposed valiant warrior. Nier thinks that Daze will praise him for picking the lock, but he's actually disappointed because he has to live now. Their escape instantly fails, and they are quickly captured. Daze tries asking the guards if they will be executed, but they just call him a creep. Our group is told that they have committed some severe crimes, so they will actually be executed. Everyone except Daze argues against the decision, but they are told that they are guilty of kidnapping the kingdom's princess named Matilda. Matilda turns out to be Tama, and she has to tell her father again that she wasn't kidnapped. Tama explains that she was traveling while improving her combat skills, and Annette corroborates the story. Tama demands that her friends be released, but the king refuses, and Daze is the only one pleased with the decision. The king eventually agrees to release them, but first he wants Matilda to promise that she will never leave the kingdom like that again. He wants her to act more like her mother, someone fitting of royalty. Tama takes one look at her poor friends and agrees to do as her father says. She will act like a princess from now on, so she apologizes to her friends as their journey together will have to end. Tama leaves and the rest of the group is set free. They go to eat, but Daze is pretty disappointed about not having his life ended. Nier can't believe that Tama is a princess, and Annette realizes how wrong she was for treating Tama so poorly. Annette now panics because she fears that she will be executed for being so mean to her. Just then, a waitress named Fawn overhears them talking about the princess. Fawn used to serve the princess in the castle, and she seems disappointed to hear that the king forced Tama to return. Daze can tell that she knows a lot about Tama's relationship with her father, so he asks for more information. Daze explains how he met Tama and admits that it would be pretty hard not to be interested in her past. Annette doesn't think they should pry into her past because she is a princess, and they should probably start calling her by her real name. Daze says that he doesn't care about any of that because she is Tama to him, and the waitress agrees to spill the beans. At the castle, Tama laughs at how everyone acted when they heard she was a princess, and she wonders what they are doing. Just then, she notices someone strange standing on top of a house. Tama is shocked when major damage is caused to the house, and the king appears to confront the attacker. This guy has come to the land where demi-humans congregate simply because he hasn't eaten a demi-human yet. He wonders what they taste like, and he introduces himself as Kybera. Kybera reveals that he is one of the heroes who killed the Dark Lord and saved the world. Despite being a hero, he has come to be known as the fallen angel of gluttony. The king realizes that this guy is one of the 7 fallen angels, so he wonders what he's doing there. Kybera's answer is simple: he has come to consume the entire nation. Kybera shows the gift he was given by God, but the troops are determined to show him why they call Grun a nation of heroes. They go to attack this guy, but Kybera uses his ability to eat them alive with the snap of his fingers. Kybera's gift allows him to eat what the giant mouth eats, and he says that the troops tasted terrible. Kybera doesn't want to eat disgusting troops and prefers consuming women. The king shocks his troops as he plans to fight Kybera alone, and he tells Kybera that he won't let him leave alive. The king is a level 52 warrior, and he demonstrates his power by blocking Kybera's attacks with the ground. Kybera tries to mock him, but the king manages to land a powerful lightning attack. Kybera was just pretending to be hurt though, and he pushes the king back. He admits that the attack would have destroyed a normal person, but he explains that his body is much tougher than anyone else's. The reason for this is because he just ate a bunch of golems the other day. The king gets very serious as electricity begins to flow from his fist, and the king's right-hand man wonders if he is planning to use his ultimate technique. This is shocking because it means that instead of capturing Kybera, the king is going to destroy him. The king says that Kybera doesn't deserve any mercy after eliminating his troops, so he declares that he will destroy Kybera with a single attack. The two charge at each other, but the king is shocked when Tama stops them. Kybera is excited to see the demigirl, but Tama is terrified when she realizes that he was the guy on the roof. Tama prepares for battle by ripping her dress to shreds, but the king tells her to stay back. He says that she could never replace someone named Leon, and this clearly upsets her. Back with Daze, the waitress reveals that Tama used to have a twin brother. His name was Leon, and he was set to inherit the throne. With Tama and Leon leading the way, everyone believed that peace would be everlasting in the kingdom. However, 10 years ago, Leon and the queen lost their lives during a storm. The king grieved for a really long time, so Tama decided that she would take Leon's place and put her father's mind at ease. This is a pretty sad backstory, but Daze seems pleased for some reason. Unfortunately for Tama, her decision just created a deep rift between herself and the king. Back at the fight, the king tells Tama that her martial arts are utterly useless. She tries to prove that she can fight, so Kybera decides not to hold back, and he prepares to eat her alive. Tama is about to be consumed, but her father pushes her to safety at the last moment. Tama screams to him as he has lost his arm, and Kybera admires the love between a parent and child. Kybera was hoping to get a taste of the king's ultimate technique, but he's disappointed because he won't be able to use it with the missing arm. Kybera mockingly apologizes for eating it, and this makes Tama furious. She attacks with blinding rage, but the king's right-hand man takes her away. The disappointed Kybera decides that he will have to save the main dish for later, and he wonders how he will consume the king. Back with Daze, he thanks Fawn for the information, and the king's right-hand man appears out of nowhere. Tama is unconscious, so he explains that the castle has fallen to the evil Otherworlder who suddenly showed up. Just then, everyone in the kingdom is startled as the hole is blown through one of the castle walls. Everyone becomes concerned when they see the tied up king, and Kybera declares that he is the new king of the land. Kybera assures them that he is not there to oppress them, and he only wants one thing as king. This one thing is pretty horrible though, as he says that he wants to taste the flesh of all the varieties of demi-humans who live there. He tries to calm everyone down by saying that the men can continue working as usual because he only wants to consume women and children. The people reject this horrible offer, but Kybera makes an example out of one of them. Kybera changes his mind about not eating men and decides that he will just eat entire families so they can be together inside his stomach. Everyone panics as they run away, but Kybera has stationed monsters all over town. Kybera leaves for now, and Nier points out how that guy is a psycho. Daze doesn't seem bothered at all for some reason, and just finishes up some writing. Tama's situation is really difficult, so Daze calls her the heroine of tragedy. The heroine he seeks never just accepts tragedy, so he tells Tama to open her eyes and show him the rest of her story. This causes a quick flashback to when Tama was with her mother. Tama wakes up and frantically searches for her father. The others explain that Kybera has taken over the capital and is planning to eat their citizens. The furious Tama is stopped from going after Kybera, and she is reminded that the king didn't even stand a chance against him. Tama reveals that her father only failed because he was trying to protect her, and she vows to protect this nation. Just then, Annette recalls a tragedy that took Tama's mother and brother. Everyone in the kingdom shed tears for them, so it's pretty clear that they care a lot about Tama's royal family. People will lose all hope if Tama falls to Kybera, so Annette tells her to let her friends handle it. Tama is hesitant, but Annette reminds her that they have a secret weapon for defeating Otherworlders. Daze tells Nier, Annette, and Melos that it's time to go, and Tama is told that she has really good friends. At the castle, our group is confronted by monsters who were instructed to eliminate everyone who approached them. Annette tells Daze to stay back, but he surprisingly steps forward and tells the monsters that they just came to be eaten. Daze says that he was inspired by Kybera's speech. Daze's always thinking about death, but he has never considered being eaten to death. Daze tells the monsters to go inform the king, but they're confused because it's a strange request from a crazy person. He tells them to hurry up, but this only gets them thrown into prison again. Daze tells Annette to calm down, but she blames him for everything. He shows no concern at all though, and reveals that he hid a lockpick in the kid's hat. Back in town, Briard finds that Tama is gone. At the castle, Kybera prepares for his first meal, but the monsters arrive to tell him about the strange human that has arrived. Just then, Tama comes out of nowhere to destroy one of these monsters. Kybera knew that she would come eventually, but the king calls her a fool. Tama is clearly enraged, but Kybera is just glad that he will be able to eat a demigirl. A look into the past shows Tama watching her brother training with her father. The king was hard on him because he was next in line to become king, but Leon did not back down. The king hated how Tama would always watch them, and she begged her father to let her train too. The king told her to know her place as princess, and he instructed her to put on a dress before sending her to her room. Tama told her mother that she hated the king because he won't let her study martial arts. She wished that she was never born a princess, but her mother told her to listen closely to what she was about to say. We return to the present, where Kybera says he knew Tama would come if he used her father as bait. Tama vows to destroy Kybera with her own hands, but Kybera distracts her and lands a powerful electric attack. She takes some serious damage, so her father calls out to her. Tama realizes that Kybera just used one of the king's attacks, and Kybera explains that it's because of his overpowered skill called gluttony. Not only does he gain increased abilities depending on the flesh he eats, but he even gains the ability to use skills possessed by the flesh. Kybera taunts Tama by saying that she will be torn apart by her father's own skills before she is eaten. Elsewhere, Annette is impressed because being captured was part of Daze's plan to get into the castle. Nier is glad that Daze didn't really want to be eaten to death, but he doesn't know how crazy Daze is. Annette thinks they should hurry to find the other worlder, but Daze has something else planned. Daze takes them to the queen's room, but Nier doesn't think they should be snooping around. Daze says he needs his exceptional skills though, so the kid changes his tune and breaks into the queen's dresser. There we see what Daze was after all along. Back with Tama, Kybera takes control of the fight by thrashing her about. He agrees with her father as he points out that her martial arts are useless. A look back shows her wondering why Leon was always training. Leon admitted that he wasn't a very good fighter and said that Tama might even have more talent for it than him. However, him being bad just made him want to train harder so he could be more like their father. His goal was to be able to protect their family and the entire nation. This motivates Tama to continue fighting, but the king points out how much stronger Kybera is compared to her. Tama has realized this as well, but she explains that Leon wouldn't have given up, so she won't either. Kybera laughs like a maniac because he says that he feels most alive when he eats spirited flesh like hers. Kybera realizes now that his past life was meaningless, but it has all led up to this day. In his old world, Kybera was really unhappy, and he thought he might as well have been dead. He was born in a giant mansion, and his parents bought him everything. His plate was always filled with food, but his heart was becoming more and more empty. This made him want to try and eat someone, but he was stopped and he remained unsatisfied. From the outside, everyone thought he was fortunate, but Kybera felt like he was a caged animal. Kybera unleashed his frustration on a homeless person, but it wasn't enough, and he thought he was the most miserable person in the world. Just then, Truck-kun came to the rescue, and Kybera smiled before being crushed. This is how he came to this world, and now he eats whatever he wants. The king screams in agony as Kybera moves to eat Tama, but Kybera is stopped as Daze appears out of nowhere. Daze says that this story is so boring that he couldn't bear to listen. Kybera tries to control his monster mouth thing, but it surprisingly doesn't move. This has never happened before, and Kybera realizes that his instincts are refusing to eat Daze. Annette arrives to declare that Daze has the ability to banish otherworlders from this world, and she tells Daze to write Kybera's story. She heroically tells him to use his gift Storyteller, but Daze refuses. He explains that Kybera is a boring man, and his boasting about his own misfortune isn't worth writing about. The annoyed Kybera demands respect and unleashes a bunch of power. He vows to eliminate everyone before eating the princess, and Tama thinks about how this is all her fault. It was all her fault for trying to fight, and if she just realized that she would never be Leon, then none of this would have happened. Tama sobs as she blames herself for everything, but Daze comforts her and dedicates a story to her. Just as he had hoped, Tama's ill-fated destiny was worth writing about. Tama opens the book, releasing its power, and Annette notices that it's Daze's gift. This is pretty shocking, as she now wonders if his ability even works on non-otherworlders. Her thought is interrupted though by the attacking Kybera. Daze learned about Tama's past, and he came to realize that her kindness makes her suppress her own true feelings. Because of this, she was bound to her father's vision of an ideal princess. After her family's tragedy, Tama wanted to make her father feel better. To do this, she desperately tried to replace her brother, who had been the ideal prince. The king, however, misunderstood her intentions. It only hurt their relationship, and Tama eventually lost sight of her true self. However, Daze reminds her that her mother told Tama who she was meant to be. Tama goes back to this memory where her mother told her to live her life as she sees fit. Tama was sure that the king would never allow it, but her mother told her not to worry because she could convince him. She said that the king really just wanted Tama to be happy, and Tama is shocked to remember all this. Tama is torn between being a princess like her father wants and living as an ideal prince in her brother's place. Daze says that neither of those are the answer, and she is simply Tama. Tama is shocked by his words, and she's finally able to break free from the chains holding her down. Kybera just now notices what's going on, but it's too late as Daze tells Tama that it's up to her to write the rest of the story. Tama begins to glow, and the king is shocked to see something called the crest of the divine beast. A look back shows that Leon was impressed to see this mark on Tama. It was pretty faint at the time, but it was clear that she would develop the crest in the future. Leon wanted to tell their father, but Tama knew that he wouldn't be happy about it. It turns out that the king overheard them, but the crest hasn't appeared since that day. The king acknowledges that he was responsible for it being locked away because he wanted to shield Tama from danger. The king realizes now that he is a fool and asks Tama to forgive him. Kybera declares that he just now finished digesting the king's flesh and he can use his full power. He mocks Tama though because she looks like an anime character that has just now awakened her powers. He declares that it won't happen though because he will devour all of them. Daze tells him that he is wrong because even when people are pushed into the depths of despair, they will still be able to find a single thread of hope. Tama unleashes some of her power and the king asks his wife and son to protect her. Tama charges at Kybera, but he prepares to use the king's full power. Tama proves to be far too fast for Kybera to keep up with, and she uses her ultimate technique. It's called the King's Fang, and she uses it to absolutely destroy Kybera. She collapses into the king's arms, so Annette rushes to heal her. The king gets upset when he realizes that Daze read the queen's diary, and Daze wonders if he will be sentenced to death because of it. The king refuses though, because he is grateful that Daze helped his daughter. Daze doesn't take much credit, and says that he just wrote a book. The guys are impressed that Tama was able to use the King's Fang, but Briere could tell that her technique still isn't complete. Just then, Kybera returns in a monstrous form, which shocks the king because he was sure that Tama eliminated him. Kybera wonders why he was revived, but a memory makes him realize what is going on. He explains that he was one of the 7 heroes that defeated the Dark Lord. Kybera decides to come clean and reveals that he secretly ate the flesh of the Dark Lord when no one was watching. Everyone is horrified to hear this, and Kybera says that he can feel the power endlessly welling up from inside him. Kybera is finally becoming the apex predator that he always wanted to be, and he declares that it's over for everyone. However, just then, everyone is shocked as his head gets chopped off by Waldelia. The psychotic Kybera is glad to see the Dark Lord's daughter because he wanted to tell her that her father was delicious. He tries to torment her by describing her father's final moments, but Waldelia just destroys him with a powerful blast. Everyone is stunned by her unbelievable power, but Daze just says hello to the girl he says has sad eyes. Waldelia wonders how Daze is still alive, but he just asks her if she feels better after eliminating one of her father's attackers. Waldelia is shocked by his casualness, so she tells him that she will eliminate him next time, and she leaves. Daze realizes that even after eliminating Kybera and avenging her father, sadness remained in Waldelia's eyes. Daze is very intrigued by her, so he would like to write her story someday. The next day, people begin rebuilding the town, and our group is thanked for saving the capital. It turns out that Tama has decided to stay and support the king. Our group will miss her dearly, but they respect her decision. Back at the castle, the king wonders why Tama's in her room. He says that it's for ladylike princesses and not for tomboys. The king surprisingly tells her that she should go with the travelers because he doesn't need to be protected by someone who lacks training. Tama can tell that he's just trying to do what's best for her, and the king commands her to return to the castle when her journey is over. Tama rushes out of the castle and thanks her father. She promises to become a powerful martial artist just like him and says goodbye. Briard mocks the king for not knowing how to talk to his own daughter, but the king is sure that Tama understood how he felt. The king looks at his wife's diary and thinks about his family. Back with our group, Daze says that unlike Annette, Nier has absolutely no knack for dragging a coffin. Nier tells him to walk on his own 2 legs, but that won't be necessary. Everyone becomes excited when they see their friend, and Tama rejoins the group. Our group arrives at some giant tree, but Daze's face doesn't match how excited he is. This is the famous World Tree, and it's said to be a holy tree that watches over the nation. Supposedly, it grants protection to anyone who visits it, and there's a nice little village right next to it. Tama desperately wants to do the explaining, but Annette just ignores her. Annette suggests they pray for safe travels in the village, but Tama makes her pay for ignoring her. Daze tells the girls to hurry up and drag his coffin, and everyone is shocked when they find that the calm little village has been turned into a casino. The villagers used to live a simple life alongside nature there, but now they're just a bunch of people stabbing each other for some reason. Daze runs out of sedation pills, so he wonders if there are any good trees around for him to take his own life. Daze must be told to stop eating pebbles off the ground because the others want to go speak to the mayor. The mayor reveals that a few months ago, some otherworlders came to see the World Tree and began living in the village. They built the casino, and it has attracted all kinds of crazy otherworlders from all over the place. The mayor shows them a dying leaf, and he explains that since the otherworlders arrived, the World Tree has grown weaker every day, and it has begun to wilt. The tree is clearly saddened by the arrival of the otherworlders, so the mayor asks for our hero's help. Daze has a request as well, so he asks the mayor if he can fill his container with sedation pills. Just then, some guy who overheard their conversation declares that he will save the tree. He's an otherworlder named Yamada, so our heroes assume that he's looking for a fight. Yamada assures them that he is different from the other otherworlders because he truly wants to bring peace to the world. Annette wants to help Yamada save the World Tree, but she notices that Daze's long gone. Daze feels light on his feet, and he notices that his posture has improved. His mind and body are also really healthy right now, but he hates that. He sees a cave with smoke coming out of it, so he predicts that there's a lot of immorality going on in there. Daze rushes to the cave and finds that he was right. It's an unhealthy and corrupt place. Daze asks if he can join them, but some girl appears, offering to take him somewhere more fun. This ends up being a bar where the girl thinks Daze has had too much to drink. Daze says that his life is incredibly sad though, so he's trying to drink until he stops being alive. She explains that that cave is where people who are addicted to the World Tree's pain-relieving leaves go. Daze says that he can't sleep when he thinks about his body becoming healthy, so the girl offers to help him fall asleep. She says she can do this if he just watches her dance, but Daze doesn't believe her. She tells him to just watch, so he does. The dancing begins, and Daze watches very closely. It seems to be working, and Daze calls it a pleasant night. Elsewhere, Annette makes horrible crying sounds as she wonders where Daze went. She is horrified though when the girl arrives with the passed out Daze. The mayor becomes upset because he told the girl named Echi to never come to his house. Echi wishes Daze a good night, and she leaves, but the mayor calls her another person that was ruined. Echi is known as a witch, and she has a terrible reputation. She was the only one powerful enough to fight the otherworlders when they were building the casino, but she didn't even try to stop them. Instead, she built a bar, and everyone hates her for siding with the otherworlders. Echi always stayed away from everyone, so not much is known about her. Now she makes a fortune charming fallen otherworlders with liquor and dancing. The villagers started calling her a treacherous witch, and Yamada decides that she will have to face justice, just like the otherworlders. The mayor is pleased to hear this, and begs Yamada to save their town. The next day, Daze goes somewhere, but Annette reminds him that the battle against the otherworlders will be starting soon. Daze says that he never agreed to that in the first place, and he just wants the peace that he finds in the bar. Annette tries to stop him, but Yamada explains that it's too late because Daze has been charmed by the witch. Annette refuses to just let him go, but Yamada assures her that Daze will come to his senses when they fix the town. At the bar, Daze credits Ecchi for being the reason he was able to forget his past, which allowed him to fall asleep. Ecchi warns him about being close to her because she might ruin him, but that's exactly what Daze wants. The two have a toast, and Ecchi explains the legend behind the world tree. When the spirit of the tree descends, all the weak and sick people will be saved. Ecchi suggests that Daze pray to the tree to ease his pain, but he surprises her by revealing that he knows that she's the one that wants to be saved. Daze says that her dancing was full of sadness, and she's at a loss for words. Just then, a bunch of guys arrive to order some drinks. A thug threatens some guy after he lost all his money, and he tells the dude to get his money back or he will take his kidneys. The thug explains to his boss that they aren't profiting as much from the casino because less people are gambling, so he wonders if they should move the casino. The boss says it won't be necessary because all they have to do is draw in the villagers from across the nearby bridge. It will be easy too because they just have to show them how much fun gambling is and get them addicted to the leaves from the world tree. Ecchi reminds the boss that he promised not to bother the villagers and only otherworlders were supposed to gamble. The boss says it can't be avoided now and explains that she will also make a lot more money with the added customers. Ecchi doesn't care about that, and she reminds the boss that she paid him a ton of protection money so he wouldn't touch the people across the bridge. The boss ignores her and just tells his goon to get a couple people from across the bridge addicted to the leaves. Ecchi tries to stop him, but she just gets tossed aside. Daze says that women like her shouldn't be called witches because she is actually an angel. Just then, the ground shakes, and the thugs are shocked to find that part of their casino has been destroyed. Yamada tells the thugs that it's time to face justice, and he includes the witch. Yamada prepares to punish them, but Daze arrives, upset that Yamada ruined his peaceful day. Daze can't stand grand people like Yamada, and Yamada calls Daze a disgrace to the other worlders. Yamada tells him to think carefully about what his next move will be, but Daze just sits down. Daze has never once respected someone for lecturing him, and he isn't the type to listen to a lecturer either. Yamada decides to show him what righteous behavior looks like, so he attacks all the thugs at once, and his power of judgment erupts moments after. This guy is really strong, so the thugs decide to run away. Ecchi thanks him for saving the town, and Yamada is glad to see that she has come to her senses. The townspeople celebrate Yamada as their hero, but they call Ecchi a traitor. They think she was working with the otherworlders, and they wonder how much money she made off of her exploits. Yamada tries to point out that she has changed her ways, but the people still tell her to get out of town. Daze steps in front of the angry mob and says that all people are worthless scum. They think that he's siding with the witch, but Daze explains that Ecchi was the only one fighting to protect this town. Every night she made sure that the thugs were happy and kept them in check so no harm would come to the townfolk. Without her, the thugs would have come for the villagers a long time ago. Daze calls her the true savior of the town, and he shames everyone for throwing rocks at her. No one believes him, so Ecchi says it's okay, and she apologizes to everyone as she leaves. Everyone celebrates as they have successfully pushed the witch out of town, but Yamada is horrified. Daze knew it would happen all along, as he explains that the line between righteousness and evil is a hazy thing. Yamada wonders if it's his fault, but Daze doesn't know. All he knows is that this town willingly let go of its own protector. Our heroes leave, but the mayor has another request for Yamada. The otherworlders made a fortune by selling the world tree's leaves, so they have decided to continue that practice and sell the leaves themselves. Yamada is horrified to hear this, but the mayor explains that the world tree will be revived and will grant them even more blessings. The mayor wants Yamada to be the town's bodyguard so he can carry out justice again if the witch and the otherworlders try to come back. Yamada can't believe this dark turn of events, and the mayor offers him 10% of all profits. Yamada thinks about Daze's words, and he wonders what he has done. Back with our heroes, Daze thinks that he's no different from everyone in that village. Daze wasn't able to save Ecchi, and everyone feels the same way. Just then, everyone is stunned as the entire world tree dries up. The mayor is horrified to see all his plans destroyed, and no one can understand what happened. Back with Daze, Echi reappears as a completely different life form, and she thanks Daze for understanding her. She hopes that he can find some peace in life, and she disappears. Luckily for our boy Daze, she fills his bottle with sedation pills. Daze remembers how she said that when the tree spirit descended, it would grant the wish of the sick, and Daze realizes what she really was. Daze finds a moment of peace, and he munches on his pills. A while later, our group walks through a desert. The sunlight is really getting to Tama, but Daze hopes that the sun will turn him into a lump of ash. There isn't a single thing in sight, so our group wonders if taking this route to the next temple was the right idea. Nier explains that he isn't a newbie to deserts, which explains why he has been fine this entire time. Nier has been traveling for a while, but he is from this area. He considers himself to be an expert in the desert, so he gives a lesson to the others. First, he says that it's too hot for monsters and bandits during the day, so they should be safe. This proves to be very wrong, however, as some bandits appear. These guys are huntsmen, and our group has entered their territory. Nier wonders if these guys are otherworlders, but Tama doesn't care and prepares for a fight. Annette tells Daze to retreat into his coffin, but it's really hot in there. A battle breaks out, and the girls manage to take out one of the bandits. Toro is the bandit leader, and he notices that Daze has been defeated by the sun. Toro goes to attack him, so Nier prepares to stop him. Toro mocks Nier for clearly never drawing a sword before, but Nier declares that he is a valiant warrior. Toro wants Nier to show him what he's got, but he warns that drawing his sword means that he's also prepared to die. Toro plans to attack with his scorpion, whose poison will end Nier's life painfully in under an hour. Toro is shocked when Daze becomes lively out of nowhere, and Daze tells the guy to end his life painfully. Toro obliges by plunging the scorpion tail straight into Daze's chest, and he revs his motorcycle to put more poison into him. Unfortunately for him, this backfires, and his scorpion cycle is destroyed. This is because the poison that's already flowing through Daze's blood was stronger than the scorpion's. Nier wants to protect Daze when Toro goes to attack him, but he's still too terrified. Just then, everyone stops as they hear a wolf's howl, and the bandits run away. Nier is upset with himself for being too scared to act, so he apologizes to Daze. Nier considers himself to be a coward, but Daze points out that no one ever starts out as a hero. They become a hero after being mocked. It's time to keep going, so Annette asks the valiant Nier if he can lead the way. Nier takes them to a nearby orphanage, and all the parentless children welcome him. Everyone digs into a feast that Miss Kathy made, and she explains that someone has been donating them food. She would like to thank this person, but they never show themselves. Daze comes right out and says that the food doesn't taste like anything, and he would like something with synthetic seasoning. Miss Kathy has no idea what that is, but Annette diligently takes notes of Daze's needs. The kids are quick to point out that Nier said he wouldn't come back until he became a hero. Nier retorts that he isn't a party of heroes, and the kids are amazed. They eagerly want to meet this hero, but they are disappointed to hear that it's Daze. Daze then explains that he is no hero. He is just a writer, but the kids are somehow more excited for him to tell them a story. Daze begins telling them a really depressing story, and Miss Kathy asks him to stop. That night they hear the wolf howling again, and Miss Kathy explains that a starving wolf has been haunting the area. She warns that if they want to live, then they must stay inside, but we see that Daze's enjoying a late night stroll. Daze's pet freaks out, and we see that something just massacred some monsters nearby. Nier is woken up when he takes some damage from Tama, and he is terrified to see a shadow run past the window. Nier bravely goes outside to check, but he is terrified when he bumps into a thief. The guy says that he's not doing anything suspicious, and Nier realizes that he's the one who has been bringing food. This guy enjoys making kids smile, but he doesn't show himself because secretly watching from outside the window is enough for him. Nier calls him a weirdo, but the guy's intentions are pure. Nier explains how his parents died, and apparently his father left him this sword. Nier is traveling so that one day he can become a valiant warrior worthy of the sword. If he becomes a warrior, then the orphans can be proud of being from the same orphanage as him. The guy tears up after hearing such a noble story, and he assures Nier that his parents are proud of him up in heaven. The guy eagerly listens to more of Nier's stories, and we see that Daze has been writing in his book. The guys talk until the morning, and Nier invites the stranger inside to have breakfast. The guy declines, however, as just supporting them from the shadows is enough for him. The guy doesn't think he deserves to be in the presence of the kids anyway, but Nier asks the guy if they can do something. Nier has the guy take him to the oasis he found, and they spend the morning gathering more food. Back at the orphanage, Daze gets away from the annoying kids by retreating into his coffin. Just then, everyone is shocked when baskets of food appear out of nowhere. That night, Nier is exhausted, and Miss Kathy reveals that something terrible has happened. Nier wakes up, and she reveals that one of the orphans has been taken. It's the bandits, and Toru demands that the person in charge of the orphanage come out to speak with him. The girls tell everyone to stay inside, and they promise to rescue Nate. They rush outside, but Toru is eager to get revenge, so everyone instantly starts fighting. Nier still can't bring himself to do anything, so the stranger from earlier appears to take Nier to safety. Nier is furious with himself for not being able to move in the face of danger, and he wonders why he's such a coward. Just then, the stranger begins to have flashbacks. He becomes very serious, and he calmly tells Nier to hide while he takes care of everything. He reveals that in his old world, he lost something important because of his legs. Nier is shocked as he begins to realize what this guy is. The stranger can't fix the past, but he declares that he now has incredible power. He begins to transform, and he declares that he now has the power to slay foul men who would make a kind boy like Nier sad. Nier is stunned as the stranger turns into a wolf, and we see that Daze is watching. The stranger goes on a rampage and absolutely tears into the bandits. Toru tries to get away, but the stranger is too fast. He thinks about how the people who took something dear to him were just like these terrible bandits. The wolf prepares to end Toru's life, and Daze watches with anticipation. Nier remembers how the stranger wished he could be kind like Nier, and Nier begins to cry. He finally finds the bravery within himself, so he draws his sword and stops the rampaging stranger. Nier reminds him that if he eliminates the bandit, then he will never be the kind person he was ever again. The stranger keeps going after the bandit, but Nier keeps stopping him every step of the way. The furious wolf goes to attack Nier instead now, and everyone is horrified when Nier decides to drop his sword. Nier doesn't move a single inch, and the wolf amazingly stops his attack. The transformation is undone, and the guy comes back to his senses. Afterwards, the stranger explains that he was just like Nier. He lost his parents when he was young and lived a lonely life. One day, a boy reached out to help him, and it was the first time that the stranger experienced kindness from another person. Unfortunately, the happiness didn't last long. One day, the boy was getting beaten up, and the stranger was too terrified to help him. He decided to run away instead, and he ended up getting wrecked by Truck-kun. He has never been able to forget that day, and he blames his legs for why he had to abandon his friend. Just then, Daze very directly points out that he's just remembering things in a way to make himself feel better. His legs aren't actually to blame for what happened, it was actually his weak heart. Nier begs Daze to stop because he knows how the stranger feels. Nier always runs and lies because he is a coward as well. Nier promises to do his best next time though, so he won't lose himself. Nier begs Daze not to blame the guy, and the stranger thanks the kid. He explains that Nier is a lot braver than he thinks because Nier risked his life to stop him when he was going on a rampage. He concedes that he's a coward full of excuses, but Nier really is a valiant warrior. Just then, everyone is shocked when Daze's power activates. Daze agrees that the guy is a coward, but he's also a lot kinder than most. Despite his cowardice, the man was threatening evildoers by day and defeating monsters in the area by night. Most otherworlders were corrupted by their newfound powers, but this guy chose to help others with his power. Daze credits Nier because he just taught him that it was his own arrogance depicting the stranger as a failure. Daze tears a page from his book, and the kids finally get to thank the stranger for everything he has done for them. The guy says that he's glad to have met everyone, and he is teleported away. Daze can't be sure where he went, so Nier just thanks the stranger and says goodbye. The stranger reappears in his old world, and his friend helps him up. Elsewhere, the mysterious woman from earlier is told about what happened to Kaibera. He failed to conquer Grun, and someone named Sengoku is also struggling in the desert. This is understandable though, because dwarven strongholds are known to be impenetrable. The dwarves are also getting the help of someone known as the Wizard of Hurricanes. A look at their war against the dwarves shows that they have a lizard army fighting for them. Yisha is helping the dwarves, but she wishes that Wolf would take the battle more seriously. Wolf tells her to just relax while he gets drunk, but Yisha reminds him that he's the leader of this nation. Wolf says that he's just a priest though, and the dwarves decided to call them their leader on their own. Sengoku, who's also known as the Fallen Angel of Misery, commands his troops to attack, so Yisha demands for Wolf to do something. Wolf tells the king of the dwarves named Doran to lure the enemies somewhere, but Doran rudely refuses to obey his orders. He tells Wolf to just sit back and watch, and he bashes through the enemy army. Doran decides to do what Wolf asked, so he tells the lizards to follow him if they want to take his head. Yisha wonders what Wolf is planning, but he just tells her to stand back, and he begins a spell. This spell absolutely wipes out a huge chunk of the enemy army, so Sengoku decides to just retreat. Wolf decides not to chase them, and he is shocked to see that he caught a random citizen in his attack. Yisha says that she knows him, and it turns out to be Daze. That night, the dwarves celebrate their victory, and Doran declares that the 7 fallen angels are nothing to fear. Doran blames the church for the otherworlder problem everyone is having, but Wolf won't let him talk badly about his boss. Wolf credits the dwarves for their incredible effort in battle, but Doran calls him a weak elf, while also complimenting his strength. Our group is there as well, and Annette explains that they were lost in the desert before Daze got caught up in the tornado. Annette is just glad that he was in his coffin when it happened, but Daze isn't. He wishes that he didn't survive, and now he has to find another coffin. Wolf says hello to Annette, and Mello sees the monster of his dreams. Wolf apologizes for the accident, but Daze just scolds Wolf for his failure to end his life. Daze is grateful for allowing him to feel a new near-death experience, but Wolf just thinks he's weird. Yisha explains that this nation is at war with one of the 7 fallen angels. Tama declares that she just defeated one of them, but Wolf assumes that she is mistaken. He doesn't believe that she's strong enough to defeat one of these enemies, but Tama tells him not to underestimate her team. She explains that Daze has the ability to teleport otherworlders away, and Wolf explains that the Pope has taken an interest in this ability. Wolf doesn't think they need Daze though, because all abilities are meaningless in the face of his magic. Tensions rise, but Yisha says that Wolf has just had too much to drink. Wolf says that they will handle the 7 fallen angels without Daze's help, so he tells them to just sit tight and watch. This guy is a real jerk, so our group wonders if he's really that much of a big shot. Yisha says that he is, and he's known as the Wizard of Storms. Without a doubt, he is one of the strongest wizards in the world. Even the 7 fallen angels are powerless against his magic and intellect. Elsewhere, Sengoku returns to the enemy base, and he's mocked for retreating. He plans to join the battle himself next time, so he guarantees a victory. The well-dressed guy says it won't be necessary though, because he is sending someone to the desert who knows the Wizard of Storms very well. This ends up being some little girl, and he asks the fallen angel of greed if she is ready. Back at the castle, Daze can tell that Melos misses the monster girl, and he can feel his pain. He says that one-sided love is the greatest kind of love, and he should enjoy his anguish. Melos snacks on Daze's skull again, but the little monster is clearly heartbroken. Daze takes a look at his necklace while remembering his girlfriend, so he tells Melos that they can look for the monster together. He explains that they're pretty similar because the two of them are just foolish men wandering this world in search of a woman. Daze thinks they should call the pink monster Femelos, but Melos clearly hates it. Daze is oblivious and thinks that he likes it. They eventually find her, much to Melos' delight, and Daze notices that her master is pretty popular with the ladies. Daze says that Wolf is pretty much the opposite of Melos, and they follow the pair. Wolf is discouraged when he knocks on someone's door and gets ignored, so Daze realizes that Wolf is actually just like Melos. Even a ladies' man like Wolf is pursuing his own beloved. Wolf speaks to the person through the door and explains that the war is still going on, but he promises to come back alive. He goes on to make another promise, but Daze decides that they shouldn't listen anymore. The next day, the enemy begins to attack again, and Tama wants to help in the fight. Doran reminds her that they are guests and declares that he will handle the fallen angel himself. He gives an inspiring speech with Wolf, and the battle begins. Wolf helps out the dwarves from above, and he points out that they are crushing the enemy. Just then, Yisha is horrified as she sees a dragon coming, and the dragon attacks the dwarves. It's a legendary dragon that was once under the Dark Lord's command. The terrifying beast is now under the control of the fallen angels, but the confident wolf is disappointed that this is their ace in the hole. It's not a big deal because he has taken down dozens of dragons before. Just then, Doran panics as he realizes that Sengoku isn't the one riding the dragon. Wolf doesn't care though, as he plans to rip them apart with his magic, no matter who they are. He confidently prepares to attack, but he is shocked when he realizes who is riding the dragon. The girl stops the dragon right in front of Wolf, and she greets her master. Yisha wonders what is wrong with Wolf as he begins to tremble, and he wonders what is going on. He is frozen in disbelief, and the girl takes a hold of him. Yisha collapses as her energy is drained by the girl's ability, and the girl promises to end Yisha's life when she is finished with Wolf. She takes off with Wolf, so Yisha tells the dwarves that they must retreat. They have a meeting so Yisha can explain the situation, and she wonders who the girl is. The dwarven forces are in shambles, and the lizards are closing in, so King Doran is furious because at this rate, the castle will fall. Daze points out to Melos that Femelos is in tears after losing her master, and he reminds him about what men should do when they see a woman crying. Wolf doesn't console her and just runs off, but this is exactly what Daze had in mind. Wolf clearly has a complicated past, and Daze is sure that the girl Wolf tried to talk to must know something. Daze goes to the girl's house and says that he would like to ask some questions about Wolf. The girl opens the door, but Daze is shocked to see that she's a very old woman. This is a huge surprise, but Daze admits that it makes things interesting. Elsewhere, we see that the girl has brought Wolf to the Dritten Temple. This is a place they're both familiar with, and Wolf calls her Yuriko. Some guards arrive to help Wolf, but Yuriko won't allow them to get in her way. Back at the castle, Yisha explains that the girl might be one of Wolf's students. Wolf used to be more passionate than anyone about training otherworlders, but one day he suddenly stopped and began drowning himself in alcohol. Yisha doesn't know why, but it doesn't matter because they must save Wolf. She wants Doran to send soldiers to the temple, but he doesn't have soldiers to spare. The girls say that they will take the job instead, but they notice that Daze is missing. No one has seen him since the night before, and they're all shocked when he arrives with the old woman. Daze just tells them to continue their conversation, but Annette wonders why Daze is always finding new women. A while later, we see that our group has geared up as they prepare to rescue Wolf. The dwarves are known as expert craftsmen, and they did not let our group down with this sweet new equipment. Daze is disappointed to see that the thing he ordered hasn't arrived yet, but the others can't believe that he needs equipment at all. Doran explains that the item Daze requested is too specialized, and the craftsmen are confused, so it's taking them a while to finish. Daze is disappointed in the craftsman, but Doran has had enough of him. Nier points out that crossing the desert will be extremely grueling, and Toro appears out of nowhere. They don't have time for nonsense, so Tama prepares to destroy him, but Toro says that he has changed his ways. Now he runs a bus company by day and guards the orphanage at night. Tama has no idea what a bus is, so Toro gives a demonstration. He uses his power on a monster nearby and reveals that he has the ability to turn anything he touches into a vehicle. Everyone boards the bus, but Toro refuses to let Daze board after what he did to his precious pet the other day. The bus takes off, so the girls beg him to go pick up Daze, but he refuses. Daze takes a look at the piece of his precious coffin and declares that it was the only vehicle meant for him. Daze decides to just wait there, but the old lady begs him to take her to Wolf. This is surprising because she hasn't said a single word up until now, and she declares that she must go to Wolf's side. Daze's indifferent as always, but Mello wants to go too. Daze has had enough of the obsession of those pursuing the ones they love because they just cast aside reason. They also don't use common sense and don't care about inconveniencing others. However, this makes for a beautiful story, so Daze agrees to take the old woman to Wolf. The group arrives at the temple to find the incapacitated guards, but Annette is told not to touch them because they have traces of magic on them. Yisha can sense that Wolf is in the temple, so they march in. Inside, they find that Wolf is in really bad shape. Wolf wonders why they are there, and Yisha demands to know who the girl is. Yuriko introduces herself as an otherworlder who was once instructed by Wolf. However, people now call her the fallen angel of greed. She doesn't want her time with Wolf to be interrupted, so she summons an army of skeletons. A fight breaks out, so Wolf begs Yuriko to stop. Wolf taught her to never fall in the face of the enemy, so she ignores his pleas. There are a ton of skeletons, but her group does well to push them back. The fight intensifies, and Tom is glad to see that her new equipment allows her to do some major damage. The skeletons are seemingly endless, so Yuriko explains that the battle will continue until they fall. Yuriko won't stop until she gets what she wants, and her gift called Greed empowers her. Yisha demands to know what happened between Yuriko and Wolf because she is sure that Wolf treated her well as a teacher. A look back shows that Yuriko worked hard at perfecting her ability, but Wolf determined that her powers were not suited for combat. He explained that it isn't absolutely necessary for Otherworlders to challenge the Dark Lord, and she could live a normal life. Yuriko rejected this idea because she knew that this world needed for the Dark Lord to be defeated. Wolf acknowledged her determination, and he was sure that her hard work would pay off one day. Yuriko agrees that Wolf was a great teacher, and she enjoyed spending all her time with him. Everything was perfect until one day a certain Otherworlder appeared. It was some other girl, and for some reason Wolf completely changed. This girl was a prodigy, and Wolf became preoccupied with teaching her. He stopped paying attention to Yuriko, but Yuriko kept training hard to defeat the Dark Lord. This is what she told herself, but in reality her motivations were something completely different. She actually hoped that all her training would lead to Wolf looking at her again. However, one day, when she went to show Wolf some progress she had made, Yuriko heard Wolf tell the new girl that she would be the one to defeat the Dark Lord. Wolf told the girl that she was the one he was waiting for, and this proved to be the last straw for Yuriko. Her power blossomed just like Wolf once told her it would, but it was for the wrong reason. Yuriko eliminated the new girl, causing Wolf to lose his mind, and Yuriko became what she is today. Yuriko is sure that her powers never would have awakened if it wasn't for those events, so she credits Wolf for still teaching her in some way. Yuriko combines her skeletons into a larger monster, and she explains that she took an innocent girl's life simply because she was consumed by her desires. Yuriko doesn't consider herself to be a human anymore, so all that is left is for her to fall as far as she can go. Wolf screams for everyone to run away, but it's too late, as Yuriko has already decided that she wants everyone to die. She unleashes her final attack, but Daze comes crashing into the temple on his brand new coffin. Daze simply asked for a self-propelled coffin, but the dwarves went above and beyond with their creation. Daze apologizes for interrupting, and he notices that Yuriko looks very similar to a certain someone. He instructs Melos to bring someone in, and Wolf is shocked to see the old woman. Yuriko is even more stunned when she realizes that this was the girl she eliminated. Daze reveals that he has already finished writing the younger sister's story, so now it's Yuriko's turn. Everyone is stunned to hear that these two girls are sisters, and Daze reveals that the old woman named Hikari told them everything. With their father, the two girls were a family of 3. Hikari was sickly since childhood, and Yuriko stayed at her bedside and cared for her. No matter how sick Hikari became, Yuriko never left her side. Yuriko tells Hikari to stop telling their story, but Daze already heard it all, and he was touched by Yuriko's kindness. Yuriko tries to silence him too, but Daze's team comes to his defense. Daze apologizes because he is an author, and he cannot perish until he has finished writing Yuriko's story. Yuriko can't stand being called a kind older sister, and she reveals the truth. She actually always hated Yuriko because she stole her youth from her. Yuriko couldn't live her life because of Hikari, so she was happy when she arrived in this new world. She was away from Hikari, so she thought that she could finally live her life. However, Hikari showed up and took everything away from her all over again. That is when Yuriko decided that Hikari would never take anything away from her again. Yuriko declares that she is now greedy, and she will acquire everything she wants. Daze would like to know what it is that she wants, but Yuriko has had enough of him. She moves to eliminate Daze, but Wolf rescues him and takes the damage instead. Wolf apologizes for not seeing her pain sooner, but Daze tells him to stay out of the situation. He has no role to play in the story of love that he wants to write. Daze once again asks what it is that Yuriko wants, but she just attacks him. Daze is undeterred as he explains that he just wants to write about what she truly feels, so Yuriko finally gives in. A look into the past shows that Yuriko was excited about her graduation, but her father ignored her to give attention to Hikari. He went to work and left Yuriko to watch over her sister. Yuriko was jealous of other students being congratulated for graduating, and she left Hikari alone so she could go to her graduation. Yuriko just had to accept that she would graduate alone, and she congratulated herself. That night, her father was furious at Yuriko for leaving Hikari because she nearly died while she was gone. Their father scolded Yuriko as he put all the blame on her, and he didn't care one bit about Yuriko's graduation. Yuriko just wanted to be seen more, and this was when she met her demise at the wheels of Truck-kun. Yuriko realized that her desire nearly ended her sister's life, and she just repeated the same thing in this world. Yuriko doesn't consider herself to be a caring older sister at all. She just thinks that she is greedy and hideous. Yuriko sobs uncontrollably, but Daze points out that there's not a person in this entire world who doesn't want to be seen. He says that Yuriko isn't greedy at all, and she's just a kind girl who's a bit awkward. Just then, Hikari goes to hug her sister, and she apologizes because she had no idea how bad things were for her. Daze then reveals why Hikari was summoned to this world in the first place. It turns out that Hikari became lonely without Yuriko, and she lost hope in a world without her. Even though Hikari is an old woman now, she followed Yuriko here just to see her again. Wolf realizes now that he failed as a teacher, and we get another look back to when Hikari first came to this world. Yuriko was glad to see Hikari, but she was concerned about her illness. Thankfully, Hikari no longer felt any pain, and Yuriko was glad that her sister wouldn't have to suffer anymore. It turns out that Hikari promised to become strong enough to defeat the Dark Lord, as long as Wolf promised to let Yuriko live a free life. Hikari realized that she took Yuriko's life away in their old world, so she wanted her to be happy in this world. This makes Wolf realize that the sisters actually always loved each other. Daze's story of love is finally complete, and Wolf is amazed to witness Daze's power firsthand. Yuriko's monster is destroyed, and this restores Hikari's youth. Wolf is returned to normal as well, and so is everything else that was harmed. The sisters are going to return to their world, so Yuriko apologizes for everything she did. Most importantly though, she thanks Wolf for allowing her to enjoy some of her youth. The two sisters hold hands, and they are teleported away. The two return to their world, and Hikari explains that she had a really long dream. She's too embarrassed to tell Yuriko about it, but Yuriko says that they have plenty of time to talk about it. Hikari agrees to tell her and begins by explaining that she dreamed about a faraway world far different from this one. Thanks for watching my recap, subscribe to the channel for more videos.